there! Thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome to my channel, Disney Fan in Japan. This shirt is of Tokyo Disney Resort, and so is the topic of this video. If it's your first time to visit a Tokyo Disney park, you're probably wondering what kind of things you should bring. The Tokyo Disney parks do carry a sort of different feel to it, because being in an Asian park does mean that the locals have different expectations and standards about how parks work, which might have an influence on how you spend your time at the parks. Now, it's with great privilege that I call Tokyo Disney Resort my home park. I've been going there for several years now. I've been there in all the seasons and experienced all the events, so I feel like I can say I'm pretty familiar with how the parks work, and likewise know what to bring to make the most of a visit to a Tokyo Disney park. In this video, I'll be sharing with you some things which I bring to the parks that I find to be, if not necessary, but greatly helpful in my park experience. I won't be really telling you things like bring a spare battery or bring an umbrella for a rainy day, because I think those things are pretty much self-explanatory. Instead, the things I'll be sharing with you are probably some things you never thought to bring to the parks. And these things might require a little bit more prep, as in you might have to plan out a trip to the mall or a convenience store or a dollar store to get these things. Nonetheless, I hope this will enlighten you in figuring out what to bring to the parks. I've divided this video into 3 parts. The first one, I will go through essentials, as in these are things I bring with me all year round, no matter what the season. And then I will go into what I bring specifically during the winter and the summer. The first essential is a bag. Yes, it is common sense, but what I'm going to talk about is the kind of bag that I think you should bring to the parks. This is my park bag. I've been using this for many long years now. It's made of canvas and fabric. It is a shoulder bag, and it can be carried as a handbag as well, should you choose not to wear the shoulder strap across your body. I much prefer carrying a shoulder bag as opposed to a backpack, and I have experienced both at the parks, but a shoulder bag is much better, especially in terms of the weather that you can experience in Japan. Summers in Japan, that is during the months of July and August, are incredibly humid, which means it's not only hot, but it's heavy heat, as in it weighs down on your body. And when heat is already pressing down on your body, you don't exactly want many things to press onto your skin. The humidity in Japan does feel like it sticks to your skin, and wearing a backpack I find adds more of that uncomfortable heaviness. When you already feel weighed down by the humidity, you don't exactly want to add more weight onto your skin with a backpack, which is why I prefer a shoulder bag. With a shoulder bag, you can basically free your upper body, and your bag essentially just hangs off the side of your hip. This especially makes it a lot more comfortable to walk around the park. Another reason is shoulder bags are a lot more crowd-friendly. Japan is densely populated, and that does not exclude the Tokyo Disney parks. The locals, that is the Japanese people, I find they like to line up for things, and they actually don't mind it at all. They can line up for many hours on end. When you're going through a crowd, whether you're getting a fast pass or you're lining up for a restaurant, a shoulder bag is easier to handle in a big crowd, especially if you are just shifting your bag from one side to another, so that you can make yourself more easily maneuverable, which I find especially helpful if I'm twisting through the crowds to go to get the fast pass, or just to go to the bathroom, or to just cut through a big group of high school students. And if you're at the shops and you need access to your wallet, you wouldn't need to, like a backpack, take it off your shoulders, turn it around your body, open up the zipper, take out your wallet. It's simply right there because your shoulder bag is already in front of you, and you can just easily pull out your wallet. I also want to talk about the fabric of the bag, which also can make a big difference. I highly recommend getting a sort of breathable material like cloth or fabric. Materials like pleather and leather are not as breathable as cloth and fabric, which might make it a little more difficult to bear during the summer months, again with the whole humidity. But if you're going to the parks in the winter and have a pleather or leather bag, that should be no problem. Next, you should bring a card case or a card holder for your park ticket. Unlike the US parks, magic bands are still not a thing at the Tokyo Disney parks, but they are slowly moving a sort of similar system to the Tokyo Disney Resort app, and so physical copies of park tickets are still very much used throughout the parks. And since they are made of paper, it's worth keeping them in a way that prevents them from getting folded or creased easily, because you will need the barcode on your park ticket to get fast passes. To keep your park ticket intact, I highly recommend getting yourself one of these, a card holder, or pick yourself up a pass case holder at any Tokyo Disney park to ensure that your park ticket looks good all day. On top of that, having your park ticket in a dedicated card holder means you can easily access this, as opposed to putting it in your wallet and having to fish out your wallet every time you need to get your park ticket. It is also lighter to be carrying around your ticket in something like this as opposed to a big hefty wallet. Next up, refillable water bottle. As you know, Disney parks are not cheap, and that includes drinks. The average price of a bottled drink is about 200 to 250 yen, or about $2 or $2.50. And if you add that up during the day, it can come out to be pretty costly, which is why a refillable water bottle is a good way to keep from having to spend extra costs. There are definitely fountain spots scattered throughout the parks, if not located near the restrooms. You can also find water fountains in almost any restaurant in the parks, which makes it very easy to refill your water bottle. The next two things I'll be sharing might appeal to those who like to watch live shows or parades. This might be a sort of difference in cultural expectations. The live shows and the parades are one of the most popular attractions among locals, and so it is not uncommon for people to start scouting out areas to sit and actually mark their seating territory and plant themselves down in that spot, as in 2 and sometimes even 3 hours in advance. The reason for that being a handful of fans are hardcore photographers, and so they will plan out and seek out the best spot so that they are able to take good photos. And how they would mark and place their seating territory is by using this. This is a picnic sheet, or in Japanese English, a leisure sheet. It's like a tarp. You would fold it out and you would put it on the ground, and that tarp is essentially marking your seating area. It basically indicates the visual boundaries of your seat. Locals will do this to essentially reserve their seating spot. You can easily find this in almost any dollar store in Japan. Now, because locals don't mind camping out for a couple of hours to see their shows or to see the parades, you can imagine that it can be pretty hard on the butt. A lot of them like to use this, a foldable portable seat cushion. Every now and then you can find these at the bigger stores at the Tokyo Disney Resort parks. These are also available at dollar stores as well, but the dollar store ones, the quality as expected of dollar store level. The cushion is very thin, so I highly recommend getting a foldable seat cushion, not from a dollar store, but one maybe from a home center. This is especially useful if you like watching parades, because a lot of the times you will be sitting on the gravel floor, and it can get pretty uncomfortable if you're waiting there for at least an hour or two. And a seat cushion really does make the experience a lot less difficult to bear. Now let's move on over to the winter months. How do you keep warm? Japan has this amazing thing called kairo. That's in Japanese, but in English I believe they can be called something akin to heating pads. These are self-warming, so what that means is once you break open the seal of the package, you expose them to the oxygen in the air, and it forms a chemical reaction that produces heat. And that makes it a self-heating pad. And they come in two forms. There is a stick-on form and a non-stick-on form, which means you can actually stick these onto your body so that it's generated heat closely to you, or you can just have them in non-sticky form, like these pocket warmers, which you can just stick into your jacket pocket to keep your hands warm. And these ones are actually for your feet. These are sticky ones, or there are also non-sticky ones where you would put in the soles of your feet and they would stay there and keep your toes nice and toasty all day. The great thing about kairos is they last for hours on end. Like this one says it lasts for 9 hours, and this body kairo lasts for 14 hours, and they really do last that long. And that is especially a lifesaver in Japan when the winters can be biting cold. Not to mention when you're having to stand out in the cold for long periods of time, if you're waiting to get into a restaurant or waiting for a show to start. It's a particular necessity for anyone who is sensitive to the cold. You can find these very easily almost in any grocery store or home center, even dollar stores and convenience stores throughout Japan. If you're looking to spend long periods of time out in the cold, especially if you're a photographer, I would highly suggest getting yourself fingerless gloves like these ones. Because you're basically camping out in the cold for about 2 hours, securing your sweet photo spot, fingerless gloves make a huge difference in not only keeping you warm, but makes it very easy to handle your camera. This one I bought in Japan, and this is actually a two-way glove. That is, it not only functions as fingerless gloves, it has a detachable part to this, which you can later attach on and turn it into a regular mitten. There's a pretty well-known Japanese brand store called Muji that carries these sort of gloves, so if you have access to a shop in your area, be sure to check them out. Otherwise, you can find this in other clothing stores or home centers in Japan as well. And last but not least, along the same lines of apparel, I want to tell you about Heat Tech. Uniqlo is a Japanese clothing brand that is very well known for their basic styles, and in particular their Heat Tech line. Like the name suggests, it is a type of innerwear that is meant to insulate body heat. That is, it's meant to reduce the loss of body heat and therefore keep you warmer for long periods of time. They come in a variety of styles, long sleeves, short sleeves. There are tops, there are bottoms, even socks. It's highly worth the investment, and it does indeed make a big difference, because even though it doesn't snow in Japan, it doesn't mean it isn't cold. And when you're outside for long hours, that cold does get into your bones. So be sure to drop by a Uniqlo before you head over to the parks. If you're wearing a heat tech, you might even find it not necessary to wear such a heavy coat, which will make your clothing lighter and therefore make it a lot easier to walk around in the parks. And now let's move on to the summer months. What's one way to beat Japan summers, especially if you're walking in the parks all day under the beating sun, is to get yourself a portable fan. This is especially quite useful if you're waiting in line. It's easy to carry around, it's lightweight, and the charge lasts for a good number of hours. If you're able to stop by an electronics store in Japan, you might be able to come across a fan which you can also have tied around your neck, so it has the fans directed towards your face and blowing air upwards. And in that way, you wouldn't have to carry it in your hand. You can just have it hung around your neck all day. Another alternative is one that you can attach to your smartphone. This works right off your smartphone battery, so you wouldn't need to have like an extra battery or an attached battery to it, which makes it particularly lightweight and easy to carry. The fan, of course, is not as big, and therefore the winds are not as strong as something like this. But if you're that kind of person that doesn't mind just a little breeze to help you through the day, this should be no problem at all. Let's talk about shoes. Personally, I find the best kind of shoes to wear at the parks is, please don't hate me for this, Crocs. If you enjoy watching the live shows, especially during the summer events, you will find that there is a lot of water play. That means it is worth wearing shoes that are waterproof, like Crocs. Crocs are not only great to endure the water play during the live shows, they're also a good breather for your feet in the humid summers of Japan, and most importantly, because of the material they're made of, they make for very light shoes, which makes it very comfortable to walk around in. I feel like I'm a sponsor for Crocs, but I have tried on different kinds of shoes throughout different seasons in the parks, and Crocs have never failed me once in any season, anytime at the parks. I highly recommend them as an all-around shoe. It is one of your safest bets. And with that, those are all the things I've come to recognize as essentials whenever I go visit the Tokyo Disney parks. Keep in mind that if you've forgotten to pack these things in your luggage, there will most likely be a shop that carries these sort of items at the airport, or at the convenience store that is near a Tokyo Disney Resort station, or at Expiare, which is the shopping arcade that shares the same home station as the Tokyo Disney Resort. It's in fact right next to the resort, and it's very much like downtown Disney. A lot of these items are actually available at the dollar stores in Japan, so if you're able to stop by one before your Disney trip, you'll most likely find everything you'll need there. I hope you found this information helpful and that it will enhance your visit to Tokyo Disney Resort. If you found this video helpful, I hope you'll consider subscribing and giving it a like. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. I'll see you in the next video.